takes?
It was March, April, up to May, actually.
No. I understand that the process continues, that the process of pretending to have a relationship with the minister continues until May. But I'm interested in this exchange with Brown that persuades you to adopt the strategy of misleading Mr. Mlala about an alleged relationship with the minister. You have a message from Mr. Mlala relating to cancellation. You then inform Brown. When do you inform Brown of this message?
Immediately.
Immediately. And what do you mean immediately? Like the next minute, the next day?
No, on the same day.
Same day. Brown says he's going to inquire. Okay, and then he sends you a message. How long does it take Brown to get back to you? Does he come back to you on the same day, the next day, the next week?
I think about 2 days, 3 days. It wasn't the same day.
Okay. And then what does he say when he comes back to you? Because he says he's spoken to the minister.
Yeah, he just said to me, spoken to the minister, and he said he'll come back to me on details. But what he advised me, he said that in order to obtain my money from Vusi and get more payments, I should continue talking to Vusi, keeping him close to me.
No, I understand the gist of it, but he messages you saying he's spoken to the minister. Presumably you wanted to know what the minister had told him.
I called him back. He said to me he will inform me in due course of what the minister said. He'll come back to me.
And did he ever come back to you and tell you what the minister
said? I kept on asking him, what did the minister say? Knowing Mr. Mogotsi, he kept on saying, no, don't worry, it's going to work, just be patient. I've spoken to the minister, just relax. He never gave me any explanations.
But then he says to you, after he's told you that he's spoken to the minister, and after you've asked him what the minister said, and he's ducked and dived a bit, he says, you need to pretend to Mr. Mlala that you have a good relationship with the minister.
Yes.
And you think this is a joke, because you have no relationship with the minister.
Yes, it was a joke at the time, and I told him this.
And again, where was this exchange taking place? Was it on the phone? Was it in messages? Was it in person?
It was in person.
Now, and where was it? Presumably in Mafikeng?
In Mafikeng, yes.
At your house, at your office, at his house?
We met at the office.
Now, he says to you, I mean, he comes up with this suggestion that you believe to be a bit of a joke. But he seems ultimately to persuade you of the wisdom of his plan that you initially thought was a joke.
Yes, I believed that Brown had the influence at that time. On many occasions in the Northwest, especially in the structures of the ANC, Brown would lead the campaigns. He led one of the campaigns in 2017. It was a CR campaign. Brown led it. Again in 2022, he was leading that campaign. So based on how I know him, I believed he had these contacts, and I was convinced that he had those contacts at that time.
So I understand that you believed that he had contacts with the minister, but you'd asked him to give some indication of what the minister had told him, and he had ducked and dived. if
Yeah,
I
he just
understand
kept on saying, just relax, it's under control, it's under control. Those were his words to me every time I asked him.
Mr. Carrim, you should please wait until.
Sorry.
Yes, because when you speak at the same time, there will be transcription problems.
Sorry.
Thank you.
But were you not interested in some detail?
Of course I was, counsel. I was very interested. But what made me believe him is because when we were looking for payments and when we were inquiring about payments, Brown would always have the information about when payment would be made. So I believed when he said things are under control, I just need to be patient and I will get my money.
And when did you inquire with Brown about payments? When had he proven his worth on payments?
I think we'll have to go to the messages with Vusi. So at the same time when I was communicating with Vusi, at the same time I was communicating with Mr. Mogotsi.
We'll get there in due course. But essentially, when you're communicating when you report material to Vusi about payments, are you reporting what Brown has told you about payments?
Yes, I was. But funny enough, counsel, I need to bring this to your attention. At the same time I asked Brown about payments, Brown would say payments are coming. Mr. Mlala or Ket would ask me about payments, but he would send me screenshots from the police system. Mr. Mlala himself would then send me screenshots from the police system about the payments. So this was strange for me because why would he be asking me? And at that point, I thought maybe he's trying to test me and see do I really have those contacts or not. So the minute I ask him or I report back to him and say, okay, Brown would say payments are coming. I then message Vusi and say payments are coming. Vusi would then send me a screenshot of payments.
So you would tell him payments are coming, and then he would respond by sending you a screenshot.
That's correct.
But why would that then be testing you?
I don't know why else he would have done it, because it happens, he asks, I inquire, I come back, I say to him, payments are coming. After a day, I'm not sure, we need to check in the messages, a day or after a couple of hours, he then sends me a screenshot from the police system of the payments.
I see. And you...
Can I just ask Mr. Chaskasen, just so that I understand, you say Mr. Mlala asked you about payments when they would come?
Yeah, he would ask me, when are we getting paid? How are we getting paid?
Yes.
Because he believes I have influence.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Why would Mr. Mlala think that you would know when you're being paid, when his contract was being paid?
Remember, counsel, I gave him the impression that I'm close to the minister in the office and that I have some context inside. So he then thought or believed I would have access to payments. But my real reliance was on Mr. Mogotsi.
But on your version in the statement, you only gave that impression after Mr. Mogotsi had persuaded you that the only way you were going to get paid after cancellation was by creating that false impression.
No, this had started in Feb, before we got paid. This had started, I was saying February.
Sorry, again, I must apologize. I didn't hear, there was some distortion. You said it started in Feb.
The messages started in Feb.
Which messages?
Between me and Mr. Mlala on payments.
But in Feb, you received your first payment.
Yes. So we were talking about these payments and he believed I had influence.
Mr. Carrim, I think I will go back on my earlier advice that you pull the mics closer. Yeah, we get a distortion when we are too close. Can you please avoid being too close to the mic?
Okay, let me push it back.
Yes.
Let me just go to my statement, Council. In 10, I say I reached out to Brown Mogotsi.
Yes.
So at that time already, myself and Vusi did have a conversation. And I did say to Vusi that I've checked myself on your tender. I've done my own due diligence. He asked me how. Brown advised me to tell him that I've checked on the SAP system and that it's verified. So from then, Mr. Mlala believed that I had influence.
But sorry, this is at the stage of due diligence. This is at a stage where you are trying to decide for yourself whether you want to risk 10 million of your money with this contract. And so when you go to Mr. Mogotsi at that stage, you're going to satisfy yourself, not to satisfy Mr. Mlala.
Correct.
And Mr. Mogotsi says to you, rightly, truly or untruly, yes, this contract's on the system. Why would he, at that stage, advise you to start misrepresenting the nature of your relationship with SAPS?
No, he didn't advise. He said to me, as we move, because Mr. Mlala knew that I was checking. Mr. Mlala was obviously inquisitive. He wanted to know how. And I just said to him, no, I have people. Mr. Mlala wanted to know how did I verify this contract? And I said to him, no, I have people. I have people who are connected and they confirmed. So at that point already, Mr. Mlala was aware that I have some people that I can refer to, which was obviously Mr. Mogotsi.
So it's back in June 2024 that Mr. Mlala starts thinking that you are connected with SAPS. But that, of course, is after he approaches you for the 10 million.
Yeah.
So he doesn't approach you for the 10 million on the basis of your connections with SAPS. He approaches you for the 10 million because he needs 10 million.
Yes.
Let's go back to the sequence. Payments come in February and March. Mr. Mlala then messages you about potential cancellation. You speak to Brown. Brown says he's going to contact, he messages you to say he'll speak to the minister. Comes back to you, says, look, no, I've spoken to the minister, everything's going to be all right, essentially. You ask him, sorry, I can see you nodding, but we're going to have a transcript at the end of this. So I need you to sort of say yes instead of not. Yeah.
Yes.
You ask him what the minister said. He says, everything will be all right. Essentially, you don't need to know now, just trust me.
That's what he said.
He then, at a later stage, a couple of days later, comes to meet you at your offices, if you remember correctly, and tries to persuade you about this scheme of telling Mr. Mlala that you have close connections with the minister, and persuading you that if Mr. Mlala thinks that you have close connections with the minister, that's the way you will get paid, because he will pay you to keep you sweet because of your relationship with the minister.
That's correct. That was his strategy.
You say to him, this is a joke. I don't have a relationship with the minister.
Yes, I did.
So at that stage, you thought you can't say to Mr. Mlala, I've got a relationship with the minister, because you didn't have a relationship with the minister.
Yeah, but I had to do it because I was...
No, I'm getting the chronology. At that stage, you had no intention of
Yes.
telling Mr. Mlala you had a relationship with the minister, because you didn't. Is that a yes?
Can you repeat that, Councillor?
At that stage, when Mr. Mogotsi first puts his proposition to you, you think it's a joke? Okay, yes.
Yes.
And at that stage, until he persuades you later, you have no intention of telling Mr. Mogotsi you have a close relationship with the minister, because you don't have a close relationship with the
You mean
minister.
with Mr. Mlala?
Telling Mr. Mlala.
Sorry, Mr. Mlala, not Mr. Mogotsi.
No, I did tell him that I have a close relationship.
When did you tell him you have a close relationship with the minister?
Just after Brown informed me to go along with the strategy.
Yes, but before Brown convinced you, you didn't want to do that.
Yes, but I did it. Like I said, I was desperate and I needed to do it.
Now, I understand that Brown ultimately convinces you that you must go with his plan.
Yes.
But when he first raises the plan, you have no intention of going along with it. You're later convinced.
Correct.
Were you convinced at that meeting, or were there subsequent meetings?
No, he convinced me at that meeting.